Present.
And myself. For city staff, Sally,
Present?
Ms. Houston,
Present.
Mr. Parker,
Yes, present.
Steve Banger.
Present.
Do I have an approval for the agenda for tonight?
So moved.
I have one motion to move.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries for the approval of the agenda. Next up, we have the review of the draft budget.
Okay, so what I'd like to start with, since our last utility committee meeting, I know we have a few new members, but staff has also, we've gone through and we've reworked the capital improvement plan for the water utility. It doesn't drastically change for this upcoming year, but it changes future years. So I wanted to share that with you all as a kind of a way to start the conversation, okay? So what I'm going to pull up first, this is what you saw last time. And let me make sure I can get it so everybody can see this, at least as good as possible. Okay, so what's on the screen? I don't know that I can make that much bigger. So this is the CIP, or Capital Improvement Plan, or 5-year plan for the water department, okay? So capital improvement, just a quick refresher, items that go on the capital improvement plan are $10,000 or more or have a multi-year lifespan, okay? So vehicles, equipment, large projects, things like that, okay? So this is what you saw last time, the upcoming budget year that we're trying to figure out rates for, fiscal year '26. That first column, you'll see the bottom, $631,000. As we move across, then year 2 in that plan is 1.2 million, and then almost $1 million, just under, and then 380,766. So part of our concerns among staff when we had this put together before was that the second year, that's going to be a big hit. Even if we figure out what we're doing for year 1, which is really what we're here about tonight, but year 2 is going to be quite a hit. So when we reworked this, let me show you what that looks like. Okay, yeah, sorry, give me a second here and let me make this a little bigger so you guys can see what's going on. Okay. Okay. So you'll see those numbers across the bottom have changed quite a bit now. Year 1's about the same, but year 2 drops from 1.2 million to 479,000. So what we did, you'll notice across the board, those numbers look far more level. That's kind of a goal in all of our utilities. I don't know if you guys, some of you will remember the conversation about Hometown Grid even. That was a much smaller dollar amount. But I recommended the pricing that gave us the most stable across-the-board pricing instead of a big hit in 1 year. You want to do that to try to stabilize your rates, so you're not having to fluctuate those up and down every year drastically. So what we did, what we shifted in order to get to this point, the Roosevelt, so third item down, the Roosevelt water line replacement. I don't want to click on it, so this item, we shifted it out a year. You guys don't have that in your packet. My apologies. My apologies. We shifted it out a year, so it was all in year 1. We moved it out a year and then split it between 2 budget years. So in order to do this, this means us as staff as well as our engineer will have to be paying close attention so that we time this appropriately, so that we basically, the actual work is being done over the summer months, so where it ends on 1 budget year and picks up at the beginning of the next budget year, so we can pay for half of it in each year, okay? So we moved that out. We left the industrial park water tower here. Again, this is one of those, as soon as the new tower completes construction, we're going to have to get that done, okay? DNR has been very gracious working with us on that one, but it's needed redone for a few years now. But we're going to have to get it done once the new tower is up and functioning and filled.
And what is our ETA on that?
Next April, May, I believe, is the planned
I think so.
construction completion.
Right at a year.
Yes, yes. So as soon as that's done, we're going to have to get that in process. The other thing that we pushed out, so this, and I need to change the name of this 75,000 gallon riveted tank is actually the Witch's Hat Tower or Bottle Rocket Tower. It's going to need rehabbed as well. We pushed it out and split it between 2 years also. Okay? Again, trying to levelize out those totals for the years. So what that.
I like that type of proposal.
Gotcha. What that did for the other, because we had 5 big water line replacement projects on here when you guys, and they're still all in here, but what that did is that moved to the next one, which was the Mildred water line replacement, bumped it all the way out to year 4, 385,000. So we put it all out in fiscal year 29, year 4. Again, that puts us at 480,000 for that year for capital improvements. And then that bumped the East Center Street, maybe if I highlight them here, hold on. There we go. Does that show better up there? Which one we're talking about? So the total cost of that project was 900,000. So again, splitting between 2 years, trying to levelize out those capital improvement projects for the years. So you'll see we've got them between 479,000 to 522 year 1. Couldn't really see how to divide that up anymore. We also bumped out the vehicle replacement to fiscal year 29 out here. Again, we shifted it off a year to help levelize out those capital improvements. Okay. So again, so that when we do find a rate, hopefully, like I said, it won't have the volatility each year that going with the originally proposed would have. Now, we left the other water line projects on there. Like I said, this East Center Street project is split between year 5 and then year 6 that falls off this plan. The other 2, the West Center Street down below it and the Carty Street, are off the 5-year plan, but they're not going away. They'll slowly work their way up. Okay. Questions about any of this?
I got a question.
Uh-huh.
For the 75,000 tank, is that a guesstimate on 350,000 roughly for the total project for that?
That is the total project. So that's interior and exterior rehab.
Is the variation in price between the two?
They're different.
Because of sizes?
Yes. Yes. The industrial park water tower is 400,000 gallons as opposed to 75,000 gallons.
Got any questions, comments?
Nope.
Okay. So I wanted to share this with you all as a way to start this conversation. Really, that's the only changes to the budget that we have brought back before you.
So I think doing it this way is a lot more manageable than trying to do, hey, let's do this project
Right.
right now. Trying to split it between the years
Right.
makes sense. So based off of what's in our accounts for fiscal year 26, what does that look like for the
What's in,
balance at the end? Is that behind the mirror that I can't see?
no, that's not in this spreadsheet. Do we want to jump to
We can,
the rate?
yeah.
Give me just a second here. Okay. So let me figure out how is the best way to expand this. So these 2 tables, before I expand them all the way, and you guys don't have this in your packet either, my apologies, because this is the one we play with the rates in. So you can't see it, on the left-hand side, we will leave that side static because that is our current rates. This right here that I just highlighted, that's our $6 base rate that we currently have. This one is our $5.39 per 1,000 gallon volume rate that we
Chairman,
currently.
point of order. Could we get the comment and the side talking down? I'm having trouble hearing. There's someone out here having conversation while I'm trying to listen to Sally.
I apologize. So if you could, please keep all comments down to a very minimal. If we have a time for the public to speak at that time, I'll have you guys stand up. But for the meantime, can you stay quiet so that the committee and the staff members can communicate?
You don't have a pointer, do you?
I don't, my apologies. So, So, like I said, this left-hand side we'll leave alone, but that way we can see if everything goes as proposed, correct, Stacy? This left side, this, I'll blow it up a little. This, sorry, you can't see everything. This number, 640,000 short, is where we would be if we leave rates as they are, okay? So I'm gonna zoom this screen over here real quick. This right here, this is where we would begin the budget year for our balances, and this is where we would end it.
If we left it as
If we
is,
left it
yes.
as is and we just pull from previous year funds to make it work. Okay. That's if we do no rate adjustments. Now, I come back to, you can absolutely pull from previous year funds. I always caution, be careful, because we know we can't pull $500,000 for the next 5 years. I mean, that 1.5 million only goes so far. So keep that in mind. Okay? So, that being the case, we have this set up here, this left-hand side over here, we can play with these rates, the base rate, all of that, if we want to tweak it any. And I can enlarge it for you guys when we get there, but you got to tell me what you want to look at.
Well, I'm a cash on hand kind of girl. Like, I wanna see like projected. If we continue, where would you look? What would you look like? So obviously, like if we continued, we would have a deficit.
Yes. In year 3, we'd have a deficit.
Then we have our own ordinance for those reserve accounts to keep them at a certain threshold.
So we want to have our reserve account, that needs to be 25% of the previous year's operating expenses.
Yeah, mathematically, where are we at on that?
Go ahead.
I do have a slide,
You do?
yeah.
What draft? Oh, in the agenda packet? Okay, sorry. Give me a second. Where's it at? We don't know? The very last page? Okay. Okay.
So it's the bottom section.
Do you want to talk to this one?
No, it's okay. So the bottom section of this slide shows the fund balances.
And this is in your packet?
I did not put the reserve balance, it's 234, almost 235,000. That meets our reserve goal. That is not in those totals. I only put the operating account and that DNR, the replacement fund, in those totals that we were looking at a while ago. So it would not touch that reserve fund
So we're still covered for what our own
on that,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, we need to keep it at around, I just calculated it with these expenses, you have 986, 474 on there for expenses for this year. So 25% of that would be around 246. So we might be just a hair.
Okay, it says to
low.
use prior year fund, the
Oh, use
completed
prior-
prior year
okay.
funds, but
Then we're probably
yeah,
fine.
prior year expenditures, yes.
Okay.
So we also can do a variation of either as a possibility
Right.
of pulling some money from it and then changing the rates a little bit versus changing the rates a bunch and it being a little bit more impactful to everybody.
And we have 3 years, it looks like, in terms of, we could do a step in terms of the service availability fee and the rate fee. And it
Right, or
doesn't
whatever
have to be done in 1 year.
Correct,
or we can
correct.
step it up.
Correct.
I'm
Thank-
gonna bring one thing up that I'd like to, and that is, when we looked at meter sizes, and it doesn't bring in a lot of revenue, I agree. But it was brought before the committee, it was brought before the alternate at one time. recommendation, or was it just thrown out because nobody wanted to address
I
it?
can answer that.
Let me,
It does create a revenue stream.
so let me share with you, so what I put on the screen, and this was also in your packet. So this is some information about that very topic, okay? So you'll see on the far left-hand side, we have the meter sizes, 2-inch through 6-inch. How many meters are inside the city? That's your next column of each of those sizes. How many are outside the city? That's the gray column, okay? Current base rate inside city, then the next one's the current base rate outside the city. So that next column is the revenues based on our current base rates. So that 10,944 annual revenue based on current base rates. The proposed, that was proposed previously, that went to the alderman, those are the service availability fees, that next column based on meter size. Okay? And so then the annual revenues if we implemented those. The last column shows you the differences. So it'd be an increase of almost $8,000. Now, something to keep in mind, the gray column, those meters outside the city limits, do not have sewer connections, so those fees would not apply to them. Okay?
I brought that up because, I mean, as we look for revenue, I think that's a source of revenue that's not tremendously hurtful to the,
Well, but we need to have a conversation, though, about who or what those large meters are. Because previously, my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Hambecker, one of your concerns was that there are, for lack of a better way to put it, either large commercial entities or housing developments that each unit is not paying what those of us who own our own homes pay as base fees or service availability fees. And so trying to equalize that. Okay. The two 6-inch meters, one of them is Salem R80 schools. Okay? So not really intended target there. The 4-inch meters, I'm trying to remember, the school has some 4-inch meters. We also have some senior housing facilities that have those meters. None of the multi-housing units that were brought up in prior conversations are these size meters. They're 2-inch or smaller, and those were excluded from a separate rate. So I just wanted to make you all aware of that, that's, like I said, the biggest impact will be to public schools, senior housing, places like that. And, of course, the hospital's not in city limits, so it wouldn't apply to them anyway. Because they're not on sewer.
the Alderman's discussion in terms of the failure for that to pass?
It was part of some of the education on it, yes.
Kyle, do you have anything else to add for that?
Not to that, no. If we wanted to bring, we can always make the recommendation to try to bring it up
Right.
again, but ultimately, we are an advisory committee, right? So last time it was not voted on, and it was passed by the Board of Aldermen. If we come up with something different, we can try that.
Yeah, I think
I'm
the
still-
problem was that nothing came back to the committee as to why the advisory committee decisions were not taken.
And please don't, I'm not speaking for the board on that. But that information was part of the information for the board.
Any other comments for that?
No.
Okay?
Can we pull up that spreadsheet for the rates?
Yes. Oh. So, yeah, water. Sorry. This one? Okay. Any particular part you want to look at? And I'll zoom in on it.
On the right-hand side,
Okay,
the one that we can adjust without
Yep.
messing up the static.
okay.
I mean,
One other thing I want to point out, this number, that is, so the average household in Salem uses about 4,000 gallons a month. And so this number will change as we play with rates to reflect what that average household would pay for sewer. This is what the average household pays right now, $27.56. Huh? Oh, for water, sorry, my apologies. We were just talking sewer rates. So, okay, so that'll adjust as we play with rates. So will your numbers over here on your remaining fund balances.
What would it look like if it was, how far out can we go? If 3/4 of the projected next 3 years was from the reserve fund, however, with a bond rate increase or a base rate increase. So essentially what I'm trying to do is try to see how long we can have the DNR fund project out over the years with not so much as an impact to everybody that's already paid towards that fund. Does that make sense?
Not really,
Okay, so.
sorry.
If you were to do a 50/50, so 50% of it's gonna come out of the DNR fund, 50% of it's gonna come from either a volume rate increase or a base
Right.
rate increase.
So in that scenario, we want to drop this number down to, say, 320,000, right? That'd be a 50/50, half of the deficit
Yes.
Yes.
coming out, okay. Is there an easy way to do that? We just have to play with numbers. We just got to play with numbers. Where do you want to start?
11 on the base. Okay, cool. All right, hope you guys don't mind me bogarting this.
Nope.
$9 on the base rate, $6 on the volume.
Can I throw a question in there?
Mm-hmm.
Since most of these are capital improvement items, have we explored the opportunities for grants to cover the cost of
So-
these capital improvements?
We are always exploring opportunities for grants. We just are not aware of one open right at this moment for them. But we will always be exploring opportunities for grants. We just can't count on it. And until things kind of settle down at the federal level with the grants, several of them are just kind of stalled at the moment.
Unfortunately, you can't put a grant into your operating.
No, but for the capital improvements.
Yeah.
$7 volume.
How long has it been since we've increased rates on
2018,
water?
2018.
It's close.
Yep, we're getting there.
$7.25. Feel like I'm playing Price is Right.
Right.
I don't,
Really close.
I'd be fine. That's about where I'd be.
And I'll add, because it was requested, you also have in your handouts, comparisons of rates with other communities. So I put water and sewer on there, so you can look down the column and see. And so Kyle, I do have a couple that were different than what you shared the other night.
Yeah.
So, because I got them straight from the city, yeah, they're either their utility board or their, yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to
Gotcha.
look up some of the different ones. I'm still getting different rates from both
Yes,
spreadsheets because I
yes.
was looking on their E-code 360s as
Gotcha.
well.
Yep.
$38 from 27, so $11 higher. About $10 extra.
What is, 10 for the base rate and 675 do?
I'm sorry?
It's gonna raise it. Yeah.
10?
10 for base and 675 for volume.
675 for volume.
675 there.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, we're splitting hairs at that point.
Yeah, but for the families that aren't using as much, might be a
Mhm.
little bit more beneficial your way.
Well, yeah, the service rate always hits worst on the lower income.
Yep.
So, A lot of places have do we have a minimum usage in our code?
Not for water, we do for electric.
Okay. Yeah, I was noticing a lot of different, Kabul was one, their base rate is 21.74, but that includes
Right.
2,000 gallons.
Right. Yeah, quite a few cities do have that. There's
Yeah, they
a,
have a base of like.
right,
you're-
there's
you're
either that or
using-
there's a minimum. I saw Rolla has
Yeah,
a minimum.
That's what it was, yeah,
Yeah.
$60 minimum
Yeah.
is kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, I thought so too, but, but there's another city that has, they have their base rate, then they have their volume rate, and then they have a 6% upcharge, which I thought was an interesting,
St. James.
yep. So we can continue playing with these, whatever you guys want to see, just let me know and we'll plug them in.
One more, 8 and 750, 8 base, 750 volume. That's where I want to be.
Yeah, that's right at the 320 we were
That would
talking
be my
about.
suggestion.
Any other suggestions?
No, I think that achieves it. A very good.
Yeah. Well, in an effort to cover the deficit with that and utilizing prior year funds, I would make the motion to recommend to the Board of Aldermen a minimum base rate increase to $8 total and a volume rate of $7.50 for the water rates for 2025, or fiscal year 2026, whatever that would be.
I have a motion.
I second that.
Okay, I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
I think I'm on third wheel up there.
It's all
But I
You're
like
fine.
that. I mean,
Yeah.
I've always been for the lower service rail, but
Yeah.
Motion passes.
Yep. And that's our meeting.
All right.
Okay. Before adjournment, I do believe that we have a special request at this time from Mr. Mayor Parker.
Yes. This time in honor, Mr. John Hambacker, and this being his last meeting with us for all your years of
without services around the valley.
challenges and testing our educational level, helping us to expand our brains a little bit, helping us to think outside the box, if you will, John. I've known you for years and it's been a blessing to our, not just our committee, to our community. You've put a lot of great insight to what we do here and just something to thank you for your service. All right, stand on up here. Come on. This is for you, my good man.
And it's done. Hey, Mayor, photo op.
You'd
You
think the
got it,
paper'd
Shannon?
be here, but.
Thank you.
No, not the paper here.
If they wanna do a photo op with us, John, here, get this. All right,
All right.
hold it up. Yeah, we're ready. All right, thank you, John.
Thank you, Shannon.
Yeah, we really appreciate it, John, from
Well, I
being.
think I've written a lot of stuff about serviceability of communities and trying to make sure that we treat the least of our community
Yeah.
with some honor and
100%.
some respect.
Yes.
So, I
I'm taking a
hope
lot.
you guys have a great few years. And remember, these can always be sunset.
Yeah,
You can always do them at an increase later on. Thank you,
I
guys.
really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Alright. So do I have a motion for adjournment?
I so move.
I second.
Okay, first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Sorry, I'm
If they
yelling.
do, they can stay here.